Walmart employees, what's the most people of Walmart thing you've ever seen at an actual store? I witnessed a security guard who was quite short take a dramatic leap and engage in a physical altercation with an old man wearing a Hawaiian shirt. This man was attempting to steal around $600 worth of steak. This individual, known for his steak stealing antics, would visit the store once a month. He would load a shopping cart with various kinds of meat, such as steaks, briskets, and pork ribs, approach the checkout as if to pay, then dash out the exit and transfer the goods into a waiting truck. The store never managed to get a clear view of the license plate and was eager to catch him in the act. I was working at the counter when I heard a voice behind me say, "Sir, don't do it. Just step away from the cart." The security personnel at Walmart wear plain clothes and do not have any legal authority. They can only detain you temporarily and defend themselves if necessary, but they cannot physically restrain you. You are free to leave at any time. So, turning around, I saw the man with a cart full of steaks. He looked very suspicious and began to stutter and make excuses while trying to act casual. "Sir, please come with us. Let go of the cart, sir," the security guard pleaded. The guard, attempting to calm the situation, was the head of security, a relaxed man in his 30s who appeared somewhat chubby but was incredibly strong, capable of lifting over 340 pounds. The steak thief made a sudden move to escape, attempting to dodge the muscular guard, and they both tumbled into a display of DVDs. Then Eric entered the scene. Eric was a person of short stature, possibly due to a growth disability. He was about 4 feet tall and looked like a kid, except he was extremely muscular. He seemed eager for action, as if he had something to prove. As the thief tried to get up from the DVDs, Eric made his move. With what I imagined to be a battle cry, Eric leaped through the air, both feet extended, and landed on the man's chest with the force of a cannonball. The man fell back down, and I heard the head of security shout, "Eric, no!" as Eric scrambled onto the man's chest and began throwing rapid whacks at his face. Now, this was not the standard procedure taught to Walmart security, also known as loss prevention. Eric was promptly fired, and Walmart faced a lawsuit. In hindsight, it might have been more prudent to let the man escape with the steaks. Nonetheless, it was quite a spectacle to witness. Alright, so just imagine the look on the steak guy's face when he realized he wasn't just dealing with Walmart security, but also the Incredible Hulk's little cousin. Now talk about a raw deal. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. But hey, I bet he'll stick to chicken wings from now on. Less meat, but definitely less risk of getting grilled by a pint-sized powerhouse. I had to do it again for the second time for the second story. Here's story 2. During my time working as a cashier, I encountered various unusual and challenging situations. One regular customer was a woman, likely a dancer or a waitress, who would always come in with a large amount of $1 bills. She was known for being troublesome, so I usually tried to avoid being her cashier. However, one night when I was the only one working, she came in with her daughter, who was playing with markers that the woman had given her to keep her occupied. Despite this, the woman did not intend to purchase the markers and had scattered them throughout the store. When it was time to check out, I scanned numerous items for her, but it turned out she didn't have enough money. This led to a lengthy process of voiding items, checking prices, and adding them back on. Eventually, she decided to keep some non-essential items but remove the diapers from her purchase. After a significant amount of back and forth, she finally paid for her items. The entire transaction was for 12 items, but it took an hour to complete, with around 40 items being voided. It was an exhausting experience. On another occasion, I witnessed a fellow cashier being arrested at her register for theft. She had been caught air scanning items, meaning she pretended to scan them and then gave them away to friends and family without paying for them. I also had an incident where a customer tried to pay with a counterfeit $100 bill that was so poorly made, the ink smeared when I lightly scratched the corner. I immediately notified the floor manager, and to my surprise, the individuals involved did not seem to understand the seriousness of the situation. They waited in line until the police arrived and arrested them. They remained there even after I informed them that their money was fake, which was not the smartest decision on their part. Another memorable event involved a man who attempted to escape from our loss prevention officer but was caught. During the altercation, a woman suddenly appeared and began harming the loss prevention officer while shouting that she was pregnant. The police were called, and it was later revealed that she was not actually pregnant, but was the wife of the man who had been caught stealing. Both of them were arrested. Story 3. During my time at the service desk, I encountered some truly memorable characters and incidents that could only happen at Walmart. One such incident involved a couple trying to return a partially used bottle of personal lotion because they claimed it didn't work as intended. After a moment of stunned silence, I politely explained that I couldn't process such a return. Another time, a middle aged man asked for a paper job application as he wasn't comfortable with the online kiosk. We chatted while he filled it out and he seemed friendly enough. However, when he got to the question about offenses under the law, he hesitated and asked if he should be honest. I advised him to be truthful as lying could disqualify him if HR discovered the truth. He then revealed that he had been convicted of an offense. Needless to say, that conversation took an unexpected turn. We also had a customer known as Huffy who would come in to use aerosol dust remover, get intoxicated, and then pass out in the bathroom for hours. Management and loss prevention were fed up with her stealing the dust remover and decided to intervene. However, Huffy managed to use a few cans before they approached her. When she saw them coming, she fled with the employees in pursuit. I witnessed the chase as it unfolded, with Huffy escaping in her car, unfortunately hitting two other vehicles in the process. The Walmart employees gave chase but were left behind as Huffy's car swerved through the parking lot and then through the back wall of a nearby Burger King. It was certainly an unusual escape from Walmart security. Huffy, the dust remover bandit, strikes again. I guess this time she's leading Walmart's finest on a high-speed chase that ends with a dramatic strike through the Burger King? What? I can only imagine the look on the employees' faces as they explain to their manager why they need to fill out an incident report for a fast food restaurant. Talking about going above and beyond the call of duty at a Walmart. Story 4. In 1998, I worked at an older Walmart store where one customer stood out among the rest, Miss Allen. Now, Miss Allen was an elderly woman known to everyone. She had a noticeable stutter and lived alone, which might have contributed to her poor hygiene. Her hair was often frizzy and she had a strong body odor. Despite this, she had a peculiar habit of putting large quantities of granny bottoms on layaway, totaling around $100 each time. She would make the minimum required deposit, which was 10% at the time, and then return a month later to cancel the layaway, asking for her money back instead of making payments or purchasing the items. She was allowed to have up to 3 layaway accounts simultaneously, and she took full advantage of this policy. Miss Allen had also been caught shoplifting on occasion, both at our Walmart and the Kmart in town. She always carried an enormous purse in the child seat of her shopping cart, large enough to conceal a television if she wanted to. Unfortunately, she was caught trying to steal the granny bottoms she had previously put on layaway. When loss prevention and the local police attempted to question her, her severe stutter made it difficult for them to understand her, and they had no choice but to let her go. This cycle of layaway and attempted theft became such a familiar pattern with Miss Allen, making her a memorable character in the Walmart where I worked. Story 5. Years ago, I worked for a cell phone carrier at a small folding table near the entrance of a Walmart. This was during a time when Walmart did not sell phones directly, and this was well before the era of digital phones when there were only 2 major carriers in most parts of the country. I was selling Motorola flip phones and bag phones, so this was quite some time ago. My team and I rotated among the 8 Walmart stores in a medium-sized metropolitan area. On one particular day, I was stationed at a Walmart located in a lesser-known part of town where theft was a common issue despite the presence of numerous loss prevention staff. It was a place where petty theft and scams were frequent and the atmosphere was always lively. As a tropical storm approached, the power went out around 2, 3 in the afternoon. Unlike today, when battery backup lights come on immediately, this older store, built in the 80s, relied on a generator that took about 2 minutes to kick in and restore lighting. The store had lower ceilings and no skylights, so when the power went out, it was pitch black, with only the emergency exit signs providing any kind of illumination. The initial reaction was chaotic, reminiscent of a school power outage, with people shouting in the sudden darkness. However, after about 20 seconds, the realization that the lights wouldn't immediately return led to a mass exodus. It seemed as though every customer in the store seized the opportunity to grab whatever items were within reach and made a run for the exit. It was an astonishing sight, one I'll never forget. I was seated at my little card table just past a small food stand close enough to the entrance that I wasn't in complete darkness. As a result, I had a front row view of the uproar. For half a minute, people streamed past me carrying all sorts of items, while the two security guards at the front door frantically tried to stop them and retrieve the stolen goods. In the confusion, someone even grabbed two display model phones from my table as they ran by, though they were just empty shells, so there was no real loss. When the lights finally came back on 2 minutes later, the store was in disarray. Only employees and a few retirees remained, looking bewildered by the uproar. Clothing racks had been toppled, items were scattered everywhere, and someone had even managed to pull down the entire bicycle display in the toy section. The store looked as if a tornado had passed by. It took nearly a week to restore order, with the store closing for a day to clean up and certain areas remaining roped off for a few days while repairs were made. It was an incredible event to witness, a moment of sheer pandemonium that I'll never forget. And hey, if you're enjoying the video so far, please don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this, and it also really does help me out, so thanks in advance. On to the next story. Story 6. One day, as my mom and I were leaving Walmart, we encountered a traffic jam at the entrance of the parking lot while we waited to exit onto the main road. Cars were trying to enter the lot slowly due to the backup, and as we sat in our car waiting for the light to change, we witnessed a remarkable scene unfold in one of the vehicles. Inside the car was a family of four: a mother, father, son, and a daughter. The parents seemed to be in their late 50s. To our shock, the son was harming his father from the back seat. The mother was attempting to calm the situation, the father was enduring the harm, and the daughter was visibly upset, crying. The son then exited the car and stood in front of it, seemingly trying to prevent his father from driving away. However, the father attempted to drive off, leading to the son trying to stop the car by jumping onto the hood. The son was not pleased with his father's attempt to escape and began shouting. In a surprising turn of events, the son leaped up and had himself WWE style onto the front windshield, shattering the glass completely. And all of this was unexpected and an alarming incident that unfolded right before our eyes in a Walmart parking lot. Story 7. I worked in the garden center at Walmart, where we had our own separate entrance, much like many other garden centers. This meant we had our own greeter, whom we'll call Dale. Dale used an electric wheelchair and was a Vietnam veteran. He had been in an accident after the war that affected his neck, leaving him with limited mobility. He was essentially a quadriplegic, though he had some use of his arms, enough to check receipts. Despite his condition, Dale was tough and didn't tolerate any nonsense. We often teased him in good fun, our favorite prank being to sneak up on him when he was napping and lift his wheelchair with a pallet jack so he couldn't move. Dale took this job seriously, and one day, a would-be thief attempted a Walmart dash with a large stereo system but had no getaway car waiting outside. The thief likely thought they could easily escape through our entrance due to Dale's condition, but they were about to learn they were messing with the most formidable employee Walmart had. Dale pursued the man through the parking lot in his wheelchair, tapping the back of the thief's heels with his metal footrests. The thief had no choice but to abandon the heavy box and sprint away from our relentless greeter. Dale then positioned himself in front of the box and pushed it back to the store with his footrests, looking as pleased as could be. Story 8. After working at Walmart for 4-ish years, I have a memorable story from a night when I was sitting outside on my lunch break. It was around 2 a.m. and the road in front of the store was usually quiet with few cars passing by. Suddenly, I saw a car speeding down the road, its lights rising over the top of the hedge that bordered the roadway. This hedge was about 5 feet tall and the car was moving at an alarming speed. Moments later, I heard a terrifying noise that I'll never forget. The driver had flipped the car upside down in the median and they were driving the wrong way. I rushed over to the scene and found the driver crawling out of the wreckage, scaring anyone who came near. Inside the car, there was another man who was unconscious. I was in the middle of calling for an ambulance when the driver spotted me on the phone and charged at me, screaming threats. I quickly ran back into the Walmart, alerted my coworkers about the dangerous situation, and they helped me get to safety. The driver came into the store, looked around, and then fled. The police arrived after the driver had escaped and the injured passenger was taken away in an ambulance. A manhunt for the driver ensued. It turned out that the car was stolen and I had to identify the driver. Later, I had to go to court because of the incident. Despite the seriousness of the situation, the driver was only charged with a misdemeanor. This was all because I tried to call for help for someone who was injured. Story 9. Working at Walmart was a challenging experience that significantly impacted my perspective on people and introduced me to anxiety. I'm not exaggerating when I say it changed my view of humanity. I was responsible for the frozen food and dairy sections in one of the busiest and least expensive stores in the area, which was also a popular spot for customers using WIC coupons. Often, I was the sole employee tasked with restocking milk, eggs, and unloading trucks carrying milk, dairy, and frozen food. Management even devised a scheme to ensure I worked only 38 hours a week, just under the threshold for full-time benefits. Now, this gives you an idea of how much I disliked the job. The behavior of some customers were particularly trying. For instance, I witnessed two men recklessly tossing a gallon of milk back and forth, not just a casual pass, but throwing it so high it nearly hit the ceiling. I watched in disbelief as the gallon slipped through one man's hands, erupting on the floor. They simply grabbed another gallon and left with a nonchalant apology. I stood there, defeated, staring at the milk puddle for what felt like an eternity before cleaning it up. Egg theft was almost a daily occurrence, with women taking eggs from cartons and placing them in their purses. It became so frequent that cameras were installed in front of the egg display. Working the night shift occasionally brought in individuals who were clearly unkempt and engaged in questionable activities, often accompanied by men who smelled like they hadn't bathed in weeks. Customers would misuse motorized carts, treating them like bumper cars and even taking them out into the parking lot. Some customers would even peer into the dairy cooler and demand I hand them milk directly from the crates, as if the milk on the shelves wasn't up to their standards. One man attempted to steal meat by filling an empty food bag with steaks and chicken, even resealing it with staples. I reported him to the cashier and he was caught. A woman berated me for being out of stock on Tyson's chicken, as if Walmart could never run out of anything. I also encountered a woman nursing while her baby sat in the child seat of a regular shopping cart, not one designed for infants. These were just a few of the many incidents that occurred within a year and a half. I was relieved to leave that job behind. Today, I work as a software developer, a profession that requires minimal interaction with people, a preference that I attribute in large part to my experiences at Walmart. Even spending more than 20 minutes at a Walmart now triggers anxiety. Story 10. As a former Walmart associate, I remember the challenges that came with the beginning of each month when a particular family would come into the store. This family was known for their lack of hygiene, they didn't shower, and their children were not well kept. Their clothes were often stained, and each visit they would fill at least 5 shopping carts with an assortment of items they didn't necessarily need, such as chips, soda, candy, frozen dinners, ice cream, toys, and random gardening supplies. Their children, who were unfortunately chubby, were always a handful. The first time I encountered this family, I was working the overnight stock shift before the CAP system was implemented. I was stocking shelves in the baking aisle when they finally came in. Initially, I didn't think much of it, assuming they were just another family in need of assistance. However, things took a turn when the father told one of his kids to put something back, and the child defiantly refused. The father then sternly told the child to listen, and the situation escalated when the child began throwing a bag of sugar around the aisle, causing a mess. The father grabbed the child and took him to where the rest of the family was waiting with their carts. Months later, during the holiday season, I was again working in the baking aisle, which was especially busy due to the holiday demand. We had a special bake center set up, which at the time consisted of a large metal shelf that was taller than the others. This incident likely contributed to the store later changing the bake center to be more like regular shelves in the main aisle. It was a busy night and I was looking forward to my days off. I had finished stocking the bake center early to avoid having to go in and out of the aisle all night. Around 3 a.m., as I was about to take my lunch break and was stocking the top shelf, I noticed the same children climbing on the shelves. They were pushing items from the upper shelves into their parents' shopping cart. I immediately told them they couldn't do that, and they acted surprised as if they didn't realize what they were doing was dangerous. They apologized and continued with their shopping. I reported the incident, and I haven't seen them since. Story 11. Years ago, I worked at a Walmart in a small town where certain families were well known. On one occasion, 2 brothers from one of these families came through my checkout line. They attempted to pay with a debit card, but the transaction was declined. Both men had red eyes and runny noses. One of them went out to their car to get cash, causing a delay in the line. When he returned, he handed me cash that had a white powder on it. I acted normally and placed the money under the cash drawer to ensure it wouldn't be given as change to other customers. Once the line had thinned out, I informed my manager, who then contacted the police. I had to speak with the police and provide a statement. On another day, a young woman came through with two items, a dress and a box of head lice treatment. She placed the lice treatment under the dress on the conveyor belt, so I tried to be discreet for her sake. Unfortunately, she was a few dollars short when it came time to pay. I explained this to her and she responded by batting her eyelashes and smiling at me, which was awkward given that I'm also a female. After clarifying the situation again and asking if she had another form of payment, she said she didn't. I then asked which item she would like to return, the dress or the lice treatment. She chose to keep the dress. Well, if you like these stories, here's a few more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video, and thanks for hanging with me on this one.